Thanks everyone, and thanks for the introduction. As you can see from the slide, I'm not going to talk about strategy. I'm going to talk about the business model canvas, which is a small area of strategy. But I'm very glad that Jake made that mistake, because I've been working very hard for many years to get everyone to immediately think the word strategy when they hear the name Chris Fox. So it's obviously working. That's the thing I'm passionate about. That's what I built my business around. But I'm going to talk to you today about the business model canvas. And before we get to the business model canvas, I just want to talk a little bit about product, because we've heard a lot of people with some great product ideas. And just for the record, when I say product, I mean product or service. Let's just have a hand up just to get everyone moving. Who are the people with the product ideas here, or the great service ideas, right? If we can have the next slide, without saying next slide, I feel like I'm number 10. So I just want to start off, if you've got a great product, congratulations. Absolutely congratulations. I'm going to say that for two reasons. Reason number one is great products are what define the world we live in. Right? Someone invented the wheel, someone put spokes in it, someone put a rubber tire around it, someone invented a bicycle pump, someone invented a tire that didn't need to be pumped up, someone invented an electric toothbrush, and someone even invented a little plastic thing that you use to scrape the ice off the windscreen off, which I don't think has a proper name. Right? All of these things, someone, just like the people in this room, thought of at some point and brought to market and made it find the world. And hopefully, people just like us sitting around here today are in the process of defining the future. So the first reason for wanting to congratulate you for having a great product was because I truly believe it's absolutely awesome. The second reason was to slightly soften the blow for what I'm going to say next. Because the problem is, having a great product is not enough. It's a necessary but not sufficient condition for success. I'm going to show my age a little bit. I remember Betamax. Does anyone remember Betamax? Small number of people remember Betamax. There's a reason. So Betamax was a VCR. Actually, looking around the room, you might have to find VCR for Betamax was a VCR, supposedly the best VCR on the market at the time, absolutely wiped out by VHS to the point that it's saying, hardly anyone even heard of it anymore. Apple was almost wiped out of the market by Microsoft, the product we all love to hate. But they almost wiped Apple out. Apple only survived by reinventing themselves in the adjacent category. And we probably all remember as well, Kodak invented the best digital photography technology in the market, decided not to take it to market because they thought it might cannibalize their existing business. And as a result, we no longer have their existing business or their great digital photography technology. All examples of people with great product ideas, product and service ideas, that didn't succeed. Because, if we can have the next slide, the simple message I'm bringing you today is a great product is not the same as a great business. Great product idea is not the same as a great business idea. So today we're going to talk about the business model canvas. We can flip straight on to the next one, please. So the business model canvas is a very simple tool for helping you think about your business as opposed to your product. This particular one, and I don't know if you can, don't worry if you can't read the writing, I'll talk you through it in a minute. This particular one was developed by a chap by the name of Alex Osterwalder, and is probably the most popular new thing in the field of strategy in the last decade. Incidentally, when he developed it and wrote the book, he decided not to copyright it, which is why we're allowed to use it, and probably why it became so popular. There are other ones on the market, and I know a lot of people use the Lean Canvas. Similar sort of idea, not quite as popular yet, possibly, and also not quite as focused on the business model itself. So we'll just focus on the business model canvas for now. At its heart, all it really does is ask you 9 questions. And the theory is, if you can answer those 9 questions, you then designed your business. And you've solved that part of the problem. The 9 questions are laid out in a particular way because the answer to each question impacts on the answer to the physically adjacent questions on this kind of matrix structure. So I'm going to talk you very quickly, hopefully very quickly, talk you very quickly through what these questions are. So by convention, we start at the top left with the customer segments. So the first question is, who exactly is it that you're going to be selling this product or service to? Normally, if I was talking about the business model canvas, I'd spend quite a lot of time talking about answering this question because it's the first, probably the most important question on the business model canvas. If you can't answer it correctly, probably very difficult to work. I'm not going to do that though, because I know the next speaker is Peter, and he's going to be focusing exclusively on this. So at this stage, the only thing I'll say about the customer is, a mistake I see people making when they're filling out their business model canvas is they treat this as just a single page and they're like single words. So they say, what's our customer segment? And they'll say, well, it's housewives or users or what is it, I think the customer segment is. That's not enough. You need to really get down to grips with who exactly these people are, what their problems are, why they have them, and why you think they're shut out. But as I say, people will talk about that in quite a lot more detail. The next question you have to answer is, where are you going to find these people? Now, of course, these days the answer is easy. You're going to make a post on social media, it's going to go viral, and people will be banging down your door. And that does work for some people, but let's be honest, for most businesses, you have to work quite a lot harder. Now, we've had a talk already about marketing, so we've seen some of the magic that needs to go into there to attract people. A couple of things out there is, we're all very online these days, but don't forget offline. So find the right balance of online and offline, various channels and techniques for marketing. Consider distribution as well. It's easy to think I'm just going to sell my products direct to my customers. For most businesses, it doesn't work like that. You sell it through some sort of distributor, like a supermarket or some sort of other outlet. For some businesses, it can be quite complicated. Think about VHS, for example. They had to persuade perhaps the TV shops to carry the video cassette recorders themselves. But then they also had to go and persuade all the video stores to stock VHS videos for people to rent, because of course they don't have the machine that you can't go to the news. So working out your distribution channels, absolutely key if you're ever going to get your product in front of them. We've got our customer segments, we've got our distribution channels. The next thing is what kind of relationship you want with those customers. Now, a great relationship is they're going to come buy your product and go away and you'll never see them again. And for some products, that's absolutely brilliant. But for a lot of products, you need a more ongoing relationship. Perhaps you want repeat sales, perhaps you want upsells. Perhaps you have to service this product you've done or do repairs. Maybe you even need to offer a trade-in model at the end for end-of-life management. Perhaps you have to offer training on how to use it. Perhaps you're not even going to sell your product. Perhaps you're going to rent your product or lease your product. Or perhaps you're going to offer your product on a subscription basis. So again, once you've got those customers, many, many different ways that you can relate to them. In the middle of your model, you'll see the value proposition. And the value proposition creates a bridge, if you like, between these three customer-facing issues that you need to understand. And on the left-hand side, more operational issues that you need to understand. All I'll say, given the time that we've got, if you think your product or service describes what you have, it's the thing that you're going to provide, the service that you can provide. The value proposition describes how that product or service is going to solve your customer's problem. So, slight distinction there, but very important that you understand that, because that dictates how your customers are going to buy and interact with the product, how it solves the problem as much as exactly what your product says. Right, let's move on to the more operational side. The fifth question, I think, was the fifth question, is what are the key activities you need to perform in your business to provide that product or service? Now, this could be very simply, I need to buy raw materials, I need to manufacture it to an end product, I need to market and sell it, I need to deliver it, and I need to service it in a conventional business model or a old-fashioned business model. But perhaps you have services like I need to develop and test software. Perhaps you'll have activities like I need to be able to issue and manage license agreements. We seem to have quite a lot of people with an interest in the care space. I was speaking to some people earlier who would have activities like hiring carers, training carers, transporting them to the place where they're going to deliver the care. So different activities.
I think the microphone still works.
Shall I just talk louder? Can you hear me at the back?
Just try that.
Does that work? Shall I just talk a lot louder? Okay.
I can hear you.
Okay. Great, guys. Completely lost where I was. Key activities. So understand the key activities, particularly those activities which are unique to your business. Understand exactly what they are, how are you going to perform them, who's going to perform them. Once you know that, you're ready to answer the question, what key resources am I going to need to do that? So again, key resource may be access to raw materials. It may be, well, I need a factory with some machines in it. It may be I need some software or some data or some intellectual property, which we've just talked about. It may be I need access to a market with lots of people with a certain skill set. So you need to understand what those key resources are and how and where you're going to get them from. That brings you to the next question. These days, we live in a much more interconnected world. Businesses are much more reliant on other people and other businesses to deliver it. So what partners are you going to be reliant on, either to help you complete those key activities if you're not going to do them yourself, or to provide you with those key resources that you're going to need? So what partners will you be reliant on? So now we've covered these questions across the top, which cover, if you like, the value chain from right at the start of the value chain all the way to the point at which you've delivered value to your key customers. We're now ready to move down to the bottom, and I know we've got to talk later on about finance. I'll cover this very briefly. All of these items across the top here, except perhaps your customer statements, all of those items are going to cost you money to execute. So you already have, if you like, a laundry list of your costs to start working out your cost structure, but you still need to know how much are those items going to cost. When am I going to have to spend that, early on in the process or later on in the process? Are these one-off or recurring expenses? And lastly, are they fixed or variable costs? In other words, do they increase as my business grows, or do they stay relatively constant? Then you're over onto the revenue side. What am I going to charge my customers for the service? Similar set of questions. When am I going to charge? Do I need them to pre-order? Do they pay on delivery, or do I offer them terms? Are they recurring or one-off costs? Particularly on the timing, if you can get a business where you earn the revenue before you pay the costs, that's a great business. So all of that matters. Of course, at some point in your future, you need to be able to see your revenue exceeding your costs. Otherwise, you're going to struggle with financing. And of course, to complete the circle, if you like, around this whole model, are your customers actually going to be prepared to pay? So those are the 9 questions. What do you do with it? We can move on to the next slide. The first thing is, as I said, it's a circle. Each block has an impact on the blocks next to it. So you need to iterate. Now, you probably iterated your product. If you're a traditional product developer, you probably came up with a prototype. You iterated through various versions as you let people work with it. You need to do exactly the same with your business model. Don't assume you're just going to fill in a business model canvas, get it all right the first time. Iterate, experiment, perhaps come up with a couple of alternatives and try them out. The way you're going to do that on the next slide is you now have a structure to talk to your colleagues, your co-founders, your advisors about the business. So hopefully you've got a structure to talk to them about your product. When you're going to talk to your advisor, this is, how's this business going to work? You now have a structure. You talk them through each of those 9 blocks, get their advice, get their feedback, get their alternative views on that. And hopefully a much more useful conversation. On the next slide, you will also find you've probably found some of those questions quite easy to answer, and some of them are quite hard. You're scratching your head, saying, I don't know, how do I work out how much to charge? What are my partners? Where am I going to get these key resources? Right, the parts that you find hard to answer are the clues to where you need to look for a co-founder or a first key hire or an advisor. Right? So you're looking for people. So if you're an engineer, you'll probably find it quite easy to work on the left-hand side of the diagram, or how to work on the right-hand side of the diagram. If you're a marketer, you'll probably find it easier to work on the right-hand side than on the left-hand side, and no one finds finance easy, as far as I'm there. But that will tell you where you're weak and where you're going to need help, and hopefully you'll be able to get it. Moving on. Test. No, I'm not going to steal Simon's thunder. Testing is absolutely important. I have a friend who says we're all very clever in the room, right? What works in your head doesn't necessarily work in the real world. So get out there and test your business model as rigorously as you test your product in the market. Sorry, next one. Okay, once you think you've got a business model that works, you'll immediately look at it and say, well, I don't have all of those things. Maybe you've got some of them, right? You know how to do some of them. People say, I don't know how to do all of these other things. Right? You are going to need to figure out or find someone who can figure out how to do each of those things. That exercise will take time, money, and resources, but you have the bare bones of a plan that you can start working out, right? You need to be able to answer every single, answer and deliver every single one of the components on your business model. Next slide. You also are going to want to be able to track every single one of those 9 questions, right? Any one of them you could have got wrong. So you need metrics in place that as you start operating, you can see my partnership arrangements aren't working. My processes aren't running efficiently. I thought I was going to get this kind of response to my email marketing, but I'm not. What's going on here? You need those metrics. Again, you'll probably find there's a part of the business that you're really comfortable and passionate about, and you'll be really focused on that. Make sure you've got the metrics, especially in the parts you're less comfortable with, because you're going to need those early warning signs. Last slide. I said the business model canvas is a great one to use because it's so popular. There are loads of resources, much more than we can cover in 15 minutes, almost on time. So please, and that's deliberately why I used that model. I happen to have one of those resources, so I'm going to do a plug, just like the last speaker. Point your camera over there, right? And that'll take you to my website called StratNav app, which is a complete end-to-end software platform for doing business strategy development and execution. It includes the business model canvas and will take you from the business model canvas to all the subsequent steps you need to get around, all the way through to building those KPIs and metrics to make sure that your business is up and running and working the way you intended. We are offering as well a special discount. There are free versions of the software. We're offering a special discount as well. And most importantly, I still have free cookies left, so do please come and visit me outside. Thank you very much for listening.
Absolutely perfect timing as well. I'm going to try and see if I can get the microphone going, because I'm sure there'll be some questions, and it'd be easy to pass the microphone round. But no,
Let's get this one working.
I can't pass that. Hello. Microphone.
So I stand in the middle.
Right near mouth. Put it near your mouth. Trudy, well done. Right, Chris. No. It's not working for me.
It's all right into the front.
Because you just switch it.
No.
Yeah, Jay, you have to send it off.
Simon, you must have adapted it.
Simon.
Oh, there we go.
Hi, Chris.
Yes.
The part that I think is really key for us to understand is most people are told to write a business plan. Yeah. So it's all business plan, business plan, business plan. Let's see a business plan. In my experience, a business plan is a fantasy document for investors at the idea stage. And it's not a useful document. It's not, you have to keep rewriting it, monitoring which version you're on. It's a really difficult way before we're able to do things like the business canvases.
Thanks, Simon. Yeah, I think I agree. There are cases where you will be required to write a full business plan, and it's an onerous exercise. So probably you don't want to do it unless you have to. Now, maybe your bank manager says you have to, and maybe there's no way around it. But even if you do have to, what are you going to write on it? Right? And so I know we should never use The Apprentice as an example for entrepreneurship because it's such an awful example. But I remember just recently watching, this woman was pitching her business, and they looked at her business plan, and I forget what she was making, and they said, what about the cost of manufacturing the actual product? And she hadn't allowed any costs for manufacturing her product. Right? And that's the problem. The normal business plan document forces you to fill in various sections, but doesn't actually make you think about how your business is actually going to operate. So if you do the business model canvas, it's going to help you think about all the components that you need to have in your business to make it operate and how they relate to each other. If you have to then translate that into a business plan, sorry, that's a chore. That will just have to do that. At least your business plan will be based on some semblance of reality.
Thanks. Chris, the thing about your platform, StratNav app, is it's interactive, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's not just a piece of paper that you have to fill in. It's actually interactive. You're data capturing it, and you can do things with it. Okay, so first thing after this talk, Chris, you've got a stand that you can go and speak to Chris about, and then get onto the StratNav app with him.
With free cookies.
With free cookies. We'd like to open the floor up some questions about the business model, about business plans, about what Chris has been talking about in terms of canvases. So would anybody like to start with a question? Right, question.
I can shout. Chris, if you were starting the business tomorrow, where would you get your sales?
Where would I get my salespeople?
Where would you?
I think it depends on the industry, right?
Yes.
If it's an established industry, that's from my competitors. If it's a completely new industry, you have to be quite serious.
So people come here
I'm not sure that's really answered your question. You have to network
just taking over this.
Okay, well, thanks everyone. Thanks.